Parties are often the scene for violent arguments, fights, or even murder. When you bring people together who may not know each other, or conversely may know each other all too well, it can be a recipe for trouble. Especially when you throw alcohol and other substances into the mix. While they can be, and everyone hopes they will be, fun, carefree, and a chance to let off steam, they can also be pressure cookers of emotion if the friendship circles of former friends or intimate partners overlap. At a Halloween gathering in 2020, the guest list contained a woman, her ex-husband, his ex-girlfriend, and the ex-girlfriend's latest lover. If it wasn't true, it would sound like the backdrop to a classic whodunit. But for 19-year-old Livye Lewis, this was the situation that she was facing. And what should have been a fun night with friends ended in an altogether different and far more devastating way. This is the case of Livye Lewis, and this is Murder of Crows. Hemp Hill in Texas is a tiny city, by any metric, and not just by Texas standards. It was founded when the powers that be in Sabine County in the late 1850s decided that the county seat needed to move from Milam in the eastern side of the county to a more central location. The result was the founding of the new community of Hemp Hill, named for noted Texas Judge and Senator John Hemphill. And while the chosen location was ideal from a geographical standpoint, it probably wasn't quite so ideal from a logistical one, since it was lacking significant transport links. This improved in 1912 when railway links that helped local lumber operations give a level of infrastructure to the centric but isolated community. This would be undone in 1938 when lumber in the region was depleted and the railway was abandoned. But since then, the community has seen improved road links, joining Hemp Hill to the rest of the county. By 2020, it still only had a population a shade over 1,000 people. It is still a striking area with a nearby national forest and a reservoir. And even though it is a tiny place, it does have a couple of claims to fame, although infamy may be a better word, since both of the notable events linked to Hemphill are decidedly bleak. First, in 1987, on Christmas night, Loyal Garner of Florian, Louisiana, a 34-year-old African-American truck driver and married father of 6, was arrested along with 2 companions for alleged drunk driving in Sabine County. After being beaten on a bridge near the Toledo Bend area by the Hemphill Police Department's Chief of Police, Thomas Ladner, and 2 deputies which were called for by Ladner, Loyal Garner was taken to the Sabine County Jail. The following morning, he was found comatose in his cell. Garner was taken for treatment to a local hospital and then to one in the city of Tyler, Texas, which itself was the seat of Smith County. But it was here that he died after neurosurgery. Officials in Tyler thought the death suspicious, as an autopsy showed evidence of beating, and they refused to return the body to Hemphill until completing their own investigation. The resulting fallout revolved around racial divides, and the trials of the policemen involved made national headlines for all the wrong reasons. Then in 2003, Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrated as it re-entered the atmosphere over Texas and Louisiana, killing all 7 astronauts on board. It was the second space shuttle mission to end in disaster, after the loss of Challenger and its crew in 1986. Hemphill and its vicinity were one of the key search areas for wreckage from the Space Shuttle Columbia after it broke up over Texas. Search teams recovered some of the remains of the shuttle and crew members, and the Orbiter Experiment Support System Recorder was found near Hemphill, and a memorial was erected in Hemphill commemorating the deceased Columbia astronaut. And there was your whistle-stop background to this small city in Texas that now becomes the backdrop for our tawdry tale today. But before we look at what the police found when they arrived, we first need to look at a party held on October the 30th, continuing into October the 31st, 2020, and some of the attendees that became players in the heightened tensions of the party that evening. Livye Lewis was a 19-year-old young lady. The recent high school graduate and straight A student was already a certified nursing assistant, but her dream was to go to college and become a fully fledged nurse on her way to becoming a physician's assistant. But on the evening of October the 30th, she was attending a party hosted by a man called Bobby Ozan. And this was a man that Livye was getting closer to. Among other attendees, perhaps as a result of the small local population, these attendees included people who did have intertwining history. One attendee, Matthew Edgar, was Livye's ex-boyfriend, with the pair having broken up several weeks before. Another attendee was Montana Bockel, who was Matthew Edgar's ex-wife and the mother of his two young children. Blimey, the tangled webs we weave. Edgar had started an affair with Livye when she was a senior in high school, and he was 23, making him 5 years older than she was. Phone records indicate that Livye and Edgar had started texting each other in November 2019, when Edgar wrote, "You do realize you cannot say a word to anybody that we are even texting. Lol." Livye responded, "Well, obviously I'm not gonna brag about texting a married man, but thanks for the clarification." But their initial dalliance would be short-lived. It appears that after a very brief affair, Livye quickly and firmly ended things. But Edgar wasn't done, no. About 4 months later, he texted Livye to complain about how unhappy he was in his marriage, boo-hoo-hoo. "I cheated again," he said. But Livye held her ground, with her replying, "I'm not really down for being a homewrecker." Almost 2 months later, Edgar ended his marriage in a text exchange with his wife, where he said, "Ain't you, it's me." Classy, Matthew. Very classy. 4 days later, Montana Bockel hired a divorce attorney. Edgar moved out and circled back to Livye. He's like a fart in a spacesuit, this one. There's absolutely no getting rid of him. Strangely, after the dust settled on Edgar and Montana's split, all initial ill feeling from Montana towards Livye, who was now back with Edgar, well, this ill feeling seemed to dissipate, and the two actually went on to become close friends. Of course, we don't know what was going on in either of their minds at this time, but certainly on the surface, it seems that a deepening friendship was growing between Livye and Montana. But if Livye's friends were concerned at the weird nature of a friendship between two people that you would expect at best to be apathetic towards each other, it seems those friends had bigger concerns as Livye's relationship with Edgar moved forward. It seemed that Edgar was being abusive to Livye, especially if he had been drinking. As 2020 rolled on, it seems that the abuse did not stop. But did we really expect it to? Really, though? But it seemed that equally Livye was committed to Edgar, as she postponed plans to move that summer to her new college campus, instead choosing to move in with Edgar and help him raise his sons. But if Livye thought that this may be a fresh start, she would be sorely mistaken, with unfortunate emphasis on the "so" part. Because in the autumn, Livye sent a photograph to her cousin Sydney, showing her with a broken nose, and a note saying that Edgar had done it. Oh, and lest I forget, it seems that Edgar was cheating on Livye around this time with his ex-wife, the one that he'd cheated on with Livye. Fuck me, did anyone anywhere think this was going to end well? Shortly after the most recent incident of abuse, Livye broke up with Edgar and tried to move forward. Anywho, these three, along with party host Bobby Ozan, who was Livye's new love interest, these people were the key characters at this party that began on the evening of the 30th of October 2020. They were, you know. They really were. On October the 31st, 2020, at around 5 a.m, Livye Lewis was found unresponsive in her car on the side of a road in Hemphill, Texas. And her ex-boyfriend, Matthew Edgar, was found lying in the road, bloodied, behind the car. He said he had no memory of what happened to Livye, or how he ended up in the fetal position behind her car. First responders could do nothing to help Livye, who had apparently been shot in the neck. And so the job for investigators was to work backwards and find out what had happened at the party to see what had played out. It appears that everyone was pretty much enjoying Bobby Ozan's party, and Ozan said that Livye and Montana were having a great time together, and both ignoring their mutual ex, Edgar. They were having such a good time that when the party was winding down by about 2:30 a.m., they were two of the last people still at the party. Edgar had left earlier, but he had returned at around this time. And it was around this time that he overheard that Livye was planning to spend the night with Bobby Ozan. Hardly surprising if they were beginning a new relationship. But it seems that jealousy on hearing this was enough to send Edgar into a rage that he directed at both Livye and at Montana Bockel. This made Edgar so furious that he started attacking Montana, feeling that she could have stopped Livye sleeping with Bobby Ozan, presumably. He was also kicking Montana's car, with Ozan trying to restrain Edgar, allowing Montana and Livye a chance to escape. Montana headed to Edgar's grandparents' home, knowing that it was nearby, and she headed there seeking refuge. But at this stage it was unclear where Livye was headed. Once inside Edgar's grandparents' home, Montana began texting Edgar. These texts would be haunting in the extreme and would shed light on the confusing scene that the police found, and a scene that may have been staged when they eventually arrived at Livye's car. At just after 3:30 a.m, Montana sent Edgar a message asking where Livye was, and his one-word response was chilling, with him replying simply, "Dead." When police responded to the scene, as well as Livye shot in the front of her car and Edgar in the fetal position laying on the ground behind it, they also found a pickup truck belonging to Edgar's cousin parked behind Livye's car. So it looked as though they had pulled over together to talk things over. But things took a more ominous turn when they found Edgar's rifle in the grass near to where the vehicles were parked. But of course, at this very early stage, nothing was known for certain. The alarm had been raised with the police when a passerby stopped to see if anyone needed assistance and found Livye unresponsive. But as the scene was being looked at and Edgar had been transported to hospital for assessment and treatment, Things on the scene were disrupted somewhat when Livye's mother, Darcy Bass, arrived on the scene, having heard rumours about an incident. Through poor management of the situation, Darcy was, completely understandably, becoming more and more frustrated until somebody told her the truth, at which point Darcy, understandably, went to pieces.
Where's my baby? Calm down. Where's my... I know! Where's my baby at? I don't have to talk to the kid. Yes, it is your kid. Where's my kid? I don't care. Where's my kid? Is she in the house? Is she in the ambulance? Is she in the hearse? Where's my kid? Oh my God! You're gonna ask me that stupid question right now? Where's my kid? Who's my kid? Where is my child? Livye Lewis. Where is she? Where is she at? Y'all won't tell me a goddamn thing? Y'all can be straight up with me and y'all can tell me. Y'all can be straight up with me and y'all can tell me instead of having me running around here looking crazy and y'all won't answer my questions.
As of this point, we do not know.
Don't know what if she's alive or dead? You couldn't tell me that?
She is not alive.
Okay, well you could have told my... Oh my God! What the... What? There's an investigation. If y'all... Okay, there's an investigation. This is funny to you? Is this funny to you? Is this funny to you?
Not at all.
Huh? Yeah, he was. I saw his eyes. So the investigation, her and one other individual
Very possible.
were in the car.
Possible. We don't know yet. What happened? We're in the middle of investigation.
Well, can you tell me some information about what happened to my kid and why she's dead in her car?
All we know is right now that she's deceased in the car.
Whose gun is it? Run the numbers on the gun. Was it Matthew's gun?
We don't know yet. We have not.
Well, if you were to come up with a conclusion right now, what would you say?
We don't make conclusions. We don't make assumptions. We go by what the evidence has for us. We don't have all the evidence yet. Not at all.
I'm trying to protect y'all trying to protect somebody. They're trying to protect somebody.
Baby, you can't go over there. They still have to go over.
Oh, that's my kid! Well, my baby just did.
I know, but you can't come over here.
Why? Because y'all trying to protect somebody?
Oh, this is a crime scene.
My child. So you just leave my kid just out there? Y'all cover my kid up.
She is.
No, y'all gonna just leave my kid in the car?
Right now, we have to. That is standard operating procedure.
Then what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Doing the investigation so my kid get off the side of the road and be late? I mean, just what the? May I ask what Mr. Egger's injuries was? They teach y'all a lie like that?
Everything okay, Buster?
Who can tell me why he went to the hospital? Why did y'all take him to the hospital? Why did y'all take him to the hospital?
He was leaving to go to the hospital when I arrived.
Okay, well, who was here before you?
He was gone when I got here.
Okay, well, who was here before you?
Just the
young man.
ambulance.
I'm not.
What was his injuries? What was wrong with Mr. Egger?
That ambulance is already gone.
While in the hospital, Edgar, clearly the main suspect at this point, given the finding of the rifle, Edgar was spoken to by Sabine County Sheriff's investigator J.P. McDonough. And a bloodied Edgar claimed that he did not remember how he ended up on the ground on the side of the road. After admitting that he drank an entire bottle of whiskey the night before, Edgar says the last thing he remembers is falling asleep on his porch and then waking up in the ambulance. How terribly convenient. McDonough informed Edgar that Livye was dead in her car. At this point, Edgar appears to cry, but McDonough wasn't buying his bullshit and arrested Matthew Edgar for the Livye's murder while he was still on his hospital bed.
Okay, Matthew, can you tell me a little bit about what happened while we're waiting on that camera to...
I had no clue what happened.
No clue.
So,
What happened? Do you remember what happened earlier in the evening?
last thing I remember is I put my kids to bed and I was on my porch.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last thing I remember.
Okay. Been drinking this evening?
Yeah.
How much?
Bottle,
Bottle of
Jim Beam,
Jim Beam? Anything else?
a few beers earlier in the day.
Okay. So you just woke up and here you are at the hospital trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
We go up in the ambulance.
Woke up in the ambulance? Okay. How'd you get all the blood all over your face?
I don't know.
Because the hospital said you don't have any injury. Don't know. Okay. All right, Matthew. You don't mind if I call you Matthew? You can call me JP. You don't have to call me anything else. I'm going to take some pictures for you. Okay?
What am I being pushed for?
Well, there's another vehicle parked in front of yours. Inside that vehicle is a dead female. That's why you're being questioned. I don't know. I have not made it out there yet. So we're just trying to figure out what's going on. Okay? In dealing with me, Matthew, you're going to find out. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be flat out honest with you. But unfortunately, there is a deceased female in that vehicle that's in front of yours. And my job is to find out why she's dead. Yeah. When's the last time you saw Livy? Tonight. What was that about?
It was all at my buddy's house.
Okay. What house was that?
Bobby's.
Bobby Ozan, right there on 944?
She was her, my ex-wife, both was there.
Okay. Who's your ex-wife?
Montana Bouquet.
Any kind of arguments with anybody going on over there while you're over at Bobby?
Not really.
Okay. When you say ex-wife and ex-girlfriend, what's your relationship like with both of them?
It's awesome.
Okay. So it's not a typical,
No,
I hate your
hell no.
guts.
Hell no.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Okay.
My ex-wife and her, they're big buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Livy had my youngest son all day today. And when 12 get hung out all day. That's why she came over to bring him back to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is my weekend.
It was your weekend?
Yeah.
So who brought the youngest one?
Livy did.
Libby? Okay. Was she the mother?
No. Montana's the mother of both of them.
Okay. Okay.
But we all got a relationship and we all hang out and stuff like that.
Right.
It's better for the boys.
No, I understand. I agree wholeheartedly. Okay, so you're at Bobby Ozan's. What else can you tell me of what happened last night?
Me and the boys went to the house. We got home. I put on the bed. I put Fletcher in his room. I put Cooper in my room. Turned on TV for him.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down on the porch.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's all you remember.
That's all I remember.
It's not looking good for you, Matthew. Because I still don't know what's going on. You don't remember nothing, which is fine. But the cause of death for that girl is not natural. Well, it looked like she got shot. That's what I was out there talking to some of the deputies that are out there. Now, I don't know that for a fact, Matthew. I'm not out there. They don't know either. So we've got to wait for the autopsy and all that stuff. You know how we do things, just like on TV. And here again, Matthew, I will tell you flat out what's going on.
Did they tell you a name? Did they tell you a name?
Libby. I'm sorry for your loss, Matthew. All right, Matthew. I'm going to take you over to the jailhouse now, okay? At this point, I'm going to place you in custody, okay?
From that point on, forensic, ballistic and witness evidence continued to mount up against Edgar. But issues stemming from the COVID pandemic closing down the courts would lead to delays, and it would also mean that legally Edgar needed to be released on bail. It would be a painful 14 months before the case would see the inside of a courtroom. But when the case began on the 3rd of January 2022, the next shocking twist was just around the corner. At this point, Edgar was ostensibly still on bail as the proceedings began. And Edgar was free to come and go from court when the proceedings were not in progress. But on the 3rd day of the trial, well, he just didn't show up. His mother, Cindy Hogan, informed the courts that her son was nowhere to be found. Authorities said that Edgar had let the battery on his ankle monitor die and escaped, most likely on foot. The trial continued without him, and in a surprise to nobody, he was found guilty in absentia and sentenced to 99 years in prison. But obviously, without the convicted felon, no punishment could officially begin until the errant cockwomble could be located and brought back. Nearly a year later, U.S. Marshals, along with the Sabine County Sheriff's Office and Texas Parks and Wildlife Game Wardens, found and arrested Matthew Edgar. It turns out that the house where he was holed up was just yards away from his grandparents' home. Investigators later determined that that particular home belonged to a family friend, and Matthew Edgar's mother, Cindy Hogan, was also found at the house when Edgar was captured. And with the lost now found, an official sentencing could now happen. As we know, Edgar was sentenced to 99 years for the murder of Livye, with his first chance at applying for parole coming after he has served 30 years in prison. Two family members of Livye came forward to give victim impact statements at his formal sentencing hearing.
Well, a Deep East Texas fugitive was brought back to justice today. Matthew Edgar, formally sentenced to 99 years in prison today for the murder of Livye Lewis after being on the run for 11 months. KTRE's Avery Gorman was at the sentencing and has more.
Matthew Edgar failed to show up to his sentencing on the third day of his murder trial in January of 2022. Edgar was missing for 11 months. He was apprehended by Sabine County authorities on December 29th, and today he was formally sentenced to the 2020 murder of Livye Lewis. The courtroom was filled with Lewis's family and friends, all wearing the color purple, and shirts with a picture of Lewis's face on it. A picture of Lewis sat in the courtroom. After Edgar was officially sentenced to 99 years in prison, two family members of Lewis gave victim impact statements. The first to go was Lewis's grandmother, Janice Lewis. She described Lewis as being full of life. She said Lewis loved babies and loved everyone. She said she had so much future ahead of her and had her CNA and was a freshman at SFA studying to be a nurse. She said the last time she saw her granddaughter, she was going to pick up tamales for Edgar's father. She asked Edgar if he remembered that. Edgar nodded his head yes.
But as I looked him in the face and asked him just questions and he nodded to me, yeah, I was very surprised.
She then said her family is now broken because of Edgar's actions. She asked Edgar, what did she do to you?
I'm just thankful that justice has finally been served for Livye, and that's what it's been all about.
Next, Lewis's mother, Darcy Bass, presented a video recorded by Lewis as her victim impact statement. This is a recording Lewis took of herself giving her valedictorian speech from Hemphill High School. The video thanked her classmates, teachers, and family for getting her where she was. Her grandmother says the video encompasses who Lewis was.
Whatever she set her mind to do, she was going to do it. And he took that from us.
Bass said she wanted her daughter to have the last word.
We lost more than he or anyone can imagine, but her name will forever live on. Long live Livye Lewis.
Avery Gorman, KTRE, East Texas News 9.
Well, at this time, no one has been charged in connection to harboring Edgar for the 11 months of his that he was missing, but officials say they're looking into how he eluded them for so long.
And that was yet another case of a cockwomble trying to pull the wool over the eyes of the authorities, and thankfully doing a piss-poor job of it. Livye Lewis's life was just beginning when her life was cut short by a selfish, arrogant, angry and jealous man-child who decided that if he couldn't have her, then no one would. He is now, after a period on the run, exactly where he belongs. But of course, that doesn't bring Livye Lewis back. Her death was a devastating loss, and this video is, of course, dedicated to her. I send love and condolences to all of those dealing with this horrifying loss. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. Please like, share, subscribe and whatnot, and make sure you have notifications turned on, as it really helps me out. But with that said, I'm Steve, this is Samson, and we will see you when we see you.